Hi, and welcome to Origin of Concepts. In this episode, I'll reveal a previously unknown origin for the Egyptian obelisk. Well, at least for the past 2000 years, since the start of all the copycat religions. Welcome. The Egyptian obelisk symbolize the sacred mound and the origin of all creation. The pyramid-shaped tip of the obelisk was called a pyramidion or Benben stone, which represents the sacred mound itself. The obelisk contains inscriptions and powerful symbols, basically representing the connection or conversation with Ra, the spirit. So, connection with the spirit. Obelisks were erected in pairs in front of the temple entrances as a symbol of the gateway between the earthly realm and the divine. So here we got another gateway. And let me start with a famous Egyptologist, because according to E.A. Valish Butch, he theorized that originally there was only one small obelisk, which later evolved into the concept of two obelisks. And he is perfectly right, because there's only one obelisk in the sky. And it is relatively small compared to the Egyptian obelisks. And before we got the two obelisks at the temple entrances, it was only small stone monuments or tablets. Not very big. Okay, however, as the original concepts evolves through history and different kings, it developed its own distinct identity. And that's how it always is in Egypt, because it started out with very simple concepts and then they got way more complicated up through history, and it all was mixed together and mess around, and all the interpretations is like, a bomb of different kings' opinions and how they want to express their attitude and their belief systems. Okay. The Greek name obelisk means spit or nail, like this one up here. And the ancient Egypt word for obelisk is tekenu or teken, means to pierce or to shine. And if something is shining, you can only look two places, either the sun or the center of the Milky Way. And in my opinion, sun worship is like poo-poo interpretation. Nobody never worshiped the sun itself. Maybe as a secondary option or whatever, but they never worship the sun. Okay. So let's take a look at the Milky Way and see if we can find the obelisk. The obelisk is visualized by the striped shadow emerging from the golden disk in the Milky Way center. So let me draw the obelisk. Here's my pen. Here we got the obelisk. And on top of the obelisk, we got the Ben stone, or pyramidion, or top stone, which is the outline shadow surrounding the Milky Way center, forming a pyramid shape. So the idea for the pyramid on top of the obelisk comes from the outline of the Milky Way center here, because that's the pyramid. And there's more. On the on the obelisk itself, we got the inscriptions, which is visualized by the striped in the stripe shadow. The stripes in the stripe shadow. Yeah. So here they got the inspiration to write on the tall obelisk. Okay, let's get some key features from the text. Atum is standing on the obelisk. And I read from my notes here. In the Heliopolitan creation myth, the world began where the creator god Atum arose from the chaotic primordial waters, Nu, and stood on an obelisk-like mount called the Ben. And I will make a video regarding Atum later, but Atum is the obelisk. This is basically Atum. So Atum is the obelisk. I'll get back to that in another video. And let me delete here and paint the pyramid Ben or pyramidion once again. The obelisk is also referred as the needle that pierces the sky so that the sun can shine through. And this is a bad interpretation based on the solar worship narrative. Popo. Because the needle symbolizes piercing or connecting to the disk light in the Milky Way center, representing the sky. The needle in the sky is piercing the golden disk. So here we got the obelisk. And then we put the pyramidion on the top. This one here. This is supposed to look like arrows. Not arrows, but arrows. So now we take the hoodie and put on the obelisk. And of course, it pierces the divine light spirit from the disk in the Milky Way center. Yeah, and here you also got the connection between the morsel and the spirit, the communication system, so to speak. And then another claim that the obelisk is a petrified sunbeam. But the so-called petrified sunbeam isn't actually a sunbeam, but rather the rays from the disk light running through the striped shadow. And of course, because the light from the disk is running down through the striped shadow. The frozen sunbeam, if you like. So not the sun, but the disk light. Okay. And then some interpretations link obelisks to Osiris's lost phallus and the jet pillar. And they are perfectly right. Because the stripe shadow represents both concepts. This is both the jet pillar, something like that, with the stripes, and it's the phallus of Osiris. And you can go watch my Osiris video to get more info on that subject. Okay, I think you should be able to find the obelisk in the sky. Now you know that it's the striped shadow. And this striped shadow is also the origin for all kinds of concept where the divine spirit is manifested into the realm of the living and manifested as text on tablets or you name it. So every time you hear about anything written down on a tablet, you know where it come from. And if you have any questions or would like to discuss other details about the obelisk, feel free to comment below, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. And as usual, if you like my videos, give me a thumbs up. If not, well, pierce me with an obelisk. Until next video, take care. Bye.